You're watching Oilersnation Radio.
I tell you what, gentlemen, I'm sure excited to be doing this podcast after a win and not a fourth straight loss. Big divisional win last night, 4-2. Thank you. Over the LA Kings. Fantastic. Exciting. Oilers snapped their losing streak. Nugent Hopkins made it 4-2, which made me burst clean through me trousers, Liam.
Yeah, that was the perfect ending for you.
Thank you. Thank you. You mixing a Connor Brown point on that one too? Come on. As we do every podcast. We're going to start off with a delicious debate for our friends at Wendy's. It is time to tell you about the Daily Face-Off Survivor game. Wendy's is letting you win real food with your fantasy teams this year, and our friends at Daily Face-Off are helping to make it happen. For those of you who want to smoke the competition, Wendy's is rewarding you with weekly prizes that will have you winning despite your lack of team building skills. Download the Wendy's app and score yourself 150 bonus reward points on your first order and grab a sweet victory from the mouth-watering jaws of defeat, along with some fresh, never frozen beef. Head on over to dailyfaceoffsurvivor.com. Sign up for the game. I am out after day one. Of course, I picked Dallas to beat the Islanders, and they did not. I was a fool. I was a fool. How's everybody else doing?
I made it.
What'd
I
you
had
do?
McDavid 2+ points.
Me too.
It was
Seems
a
like
lock.
Great news. I finally got my pick in. Bad news. It was Ovechkin to score a goal.
Well, is he just like ice cold still? What's the deal with Ovi?
Well, you know
I haven't
what?
checked on him
Since
in a
I
while.
traded for him in fantasy from one was, he's been doing okay. He's not going to pass Gretzky's record this year.
16 goals in 54 games for Ovi. Seems weird. 42 last year. What's going on with you? You old now, Ovi? A little bit. Hey, Tyler? 38 years old. Almost 39. Can you believe it?
And he's getting gray. He started turning gray a little while ago. Ovi is now, 39-year-old silver fox.
There's no way they're not trotting that rotted husk out until he passes Gretzky's record.
Of course.
right?
Yeah, they are.
Of course.
That's why, people are like, oh, I hope he doesn't get it. And it's like, he's getting it. I would just like it to be when he's still somewhat a passable NHL player. I don't want this to be like 44-year-old Ovi going out when it's like, he's 3 goals away, everybody, and starting the season on a 1-year league min deal just to do it. I hate it. That would not be fun.
One of the best Bernie Mac movies of all time, Mr. 3000, was about that exact situation. I think we could have that happen all over again.
Listen, I think it would be kind of enjoyable, especially if it drags out longer than anyone hopes it will. Like he's just have consecutive 1-year deals at league min because he just cannot get that last 2 or 3 goals.
We could have an Ovi goal draft on this podcast.
He is back on pace for close to 30 goals this year. So he's heated up a little bit. If he gets to 30 this year, he probably does it by the end of next season or early the year after. So
Listen, if we're going to do a goal draft, Dan, which we probably should, there's somebody who probably going to be the first to get a goal draft before Ovi.
And when we did our last goal draft, it was for a guy that already had 2 goals on the season.
He did.
At that point.
He did. R.I.P. Milan. R.I.P.
sorry, Connor Brown.
But you know what?
And it was a positive thing.
The Milan Lucic goal draft ended up working for him.
It did. It got Cam all the goals.
Coombsy got 2 goals in 1 game. That was the rest. That was all he got.
Wasn't that against Tampa too? It
Something
was
like that.
Totally holy shit, he did against a good team.
We did a whole thing. We drafted the games. We were yelling and screaming at each other.
It was
about
so
our
much
picks.
fun.
It's good.
We should just do it just for the funsies of it.
I think we have to.
It was great. How many games we got left? 56. Game 56 last night.
Casual.
It's running out of time. Tobias Reeder. Coming for you.
It's like a lottery ticket draft, not just a picky. When we did the Lucic draft, we thought we were drafting the totals were going to be 5 and 6 goals each, and it was going to be a competition. Nope. It was just who could get a goal.
Do you think Connor Brown will have more points by the end of the season than Tobias Reeder did with the Oilers in 2018-2019?
How many did Reeder have?
11.
Oh, good Lord. That's depressing.
Jesus.
Yeah, I still I just watch him and he's doing enough good stuff, as dumb as it sounds to say.
That pass to Nuge last night was pretty.
It was very pretty. I feel like he's at some point just gonna stumble into a run where he gets 6 points in 10 games.
I agree with you, but I also feel like we've said that for 3 months now.
Well,
Good point.
I think it's crazy that he's not out there for the empty net opportunities
Was he
every
not?
single time.
I thought he was
I
out
don't-
there last night.
Maybe he was last night, but the previous games I've noticed, it's been noticeable to me that he hasn't been out there. It feels like the moment to give the guy a shot.
I'm going to say no. Reader also did it in 67 games, which is big of him.
Oh boy.
And also, when the Oilers inevitably acquire a couple of players at a deadline, Brown's chances on the second line or third line are probably going to be much more limited. He'll be lucky to hit 10.
So Liam, in the goal draft, you're going to draft all the games before the deadline. What you're saying?
Yes.
All right. Tyler, what do you got for a delicious
I
debate for our
don't
friends
care.
at Wendy's today?
Well, Frank Saravalli was on with our pal, Bob Stauffer, if we can call you that, Bob. And they were talking about how the Oilers' deadline plans internally may have started to change as of late. Perhaps, I'm speculating now, as a result of the recent slide, their play coming out of the break, whatever it may be. So the delicious debate today, since it's been about 3 weeks since we had this question, have your deadline wants changed for this team?
No.
What did you want?
I still want a top six forward.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't have that, I want a third line center.
Mm-hmm.
And I still want some depth on D. Ideally, I'd like an upgrade on CC. I don't know if it's possible. But my needs are still the same.
I think mine have changed a little bit. Like, I think before the All-Star break, I was cool with just depth on D. Now I'm kind of sitting here going, like, I think you got to go get one of Carrier or Tanev and, like, really upgrade on Cody CC, because it has not been good for weeks now. And I know some people are like, you're you big idiot. It hasn't been good all year. And it's like, I feel like it wasn't this bad early on, at least by my eyes. And people will say, you're you idiot. You don't know how to watch the games. And I get that.
You have a lot of people calling you idiot.
Yeah.
That's not nice.
But I think now I'm not like, just go get a real good 7 and throw them into the mix. I'm like, no, you need to upgrade Tanev. And my power rankings, if you want to call it that, used to be scoring winger, depth center, depth D. Now I think it's depth D, center, scoring wingers number 3. I think I've flipped.
Welcome to the side of defense, Tyler. I've been...
I didn't know we had to rank them. Okay, go. You guys go ahead.
That was just me doing it off the cuff.
I'm there with you though, and I think that's where I've always been. And I think that this stretch just continues to show it that the forwards are not able to help out as much team defensively as we had hoped, and we saw even in that 16 game streak. So I think you need defense to be better.
Liam, have your deadline day plans changed?
I don't think so. I think I've always kind of been not against them getting a top 6 forward, but I just think their other needs are so glaring. I think adding a couple of centermen is big.
Ooh, a couple now.
Yeah, I would go and get the 2 from Anaheim, Henrique and Carrick. And then you go right down the middle of McDavid, Dry, Henrique, Carrick.
Crazy.
Another thing it does too is Henrique is probably good enough to play as a second line center if you ever wanted to. So if push him to cover in the playoffs and you want to go McDavid, Dry suddenly helps out there too. And then you also have the insurance of having Ryan McLeod who can play your third line center. So I like that. And then Henrique just kind of covers both bases, I guess. So I would say adding third line centerman is my number 1.
So if I'm ranking them now that we're going to play this way, I think my number 1 would be defenseman. I just think like if you could get an upgrade on Cody CZ, all of a sudden your top 4 is looking real good. Number 2. I like the idea of Adam Henrique or just another third line center. If he could moonlight up in the top 6, maybe ideal. And then it would be a scoring winger. Because I think like ultimately a top 6 winger would be the most expensive to acquire. And chances are they're not going to get somebody who's going to be around beyond just this playoff drive.
If the Oilers acquired Henrique and Carrick and got Henrique retained at 75%, they would be able to afford it in their current cap situation without moving a player.
And I actually think that's becoming a bigger and bigger sticking point for me too. Like, obviously upgrading Cody CC is like get him out. You need the money to make it work. And like, you don't want that guy playing on your third pairing at 3 point whatever million. It gives you some money in the summer too. Like moving Cody CC makes sense. I'm so off the trading Warren Fogle, trading Ryan McLeod just to make the money work on an acquisition. Because I look at this team right now and like, they need depth. Their bottom 6 is still not good. You need guys getting pushed down. You can't. I saw someone the other day was like, would you throw Warren Fogle in a trade for Anthony Mantha? And it's like, no, absolutely not. You need to add depth, not just look for little fringe upgrades. You need depth.
Warren Fogel's playing some good hockey.
He's playing unreal. That's actually why I've kind of pivoted away from like needing a top 6 winger like a Gensel, or I mean, if Toffoli becomes available, maybe my mind changes. But even an Eberle to some extent, I've moved off of simply because Warren Fogel's playing so
What about
good.
Buchnevich?
I don't know how you afford it this year. How do you get a $5.8 million cap hit in?
You trade Warren Fogle.
Even that is like,
But that's an upgrade.
I know, but even that's tough to do money wise.
It'd be Fogel and like Kulak, something else.
So they have 1.9 right now. If they wait till the deadline, it's 2.3.
Mm-hmm.
Busnevich is 5.8.
Yeah.
So you get rid of Fogel, which is 3.7.
It's 2.7.
He's 2.7? Who's 3.7?
CC?
Oh.
CC's 3.2.
Yeah, 3.25.
The thing is, if you get Busnevich, that's you're done.
Yeah.
Like you're probably not doing anything else. If you get a couple other guys, you can maybe make 2 moves, 3 at max. I would love Busnevich too, and he is better than Fogel.
I would love him. Doesn't seem realistic, but
I think in the summer.
I just would wonder, like, why would the Blues trade him right now?
Yeah, so Frank's speculation on that is that they know they aren't going to want to give him what he wants on an extension. So the quicker you trade him, hypothetically, the more you get for him. My counterpoint to that is like, how many true contenders right now can sit there and be like, yeah, we'll take $5.8 million of Pavel Buchnevich?
Yeah.
How many of those same contenders would come knocking at the draft and still be willing to pay you a premium? I think you could create a bidding war for him at the draft that just wouldn't exist right now.
Probably. Do you think that there are... Well, what I'm curious to see is just like how many teams still believe that they're in it right now. You know what I mean?
That's a St. Louis, that's a Nashville thing, right? Like these teams who are like, we might be able to make a push here.
Because there's like teams that are still probably think that they're in it, that don't realize that they're sellers yet. So I wonder what names are going to come kind of shake loose over the next 5, 6, 7 days ahead of the trade deadline that maybe we just don't know yet. Like St. Louis, currently 4 points back of the wild card. The Wild are also 4 points back of the wild card. The Flames are already selling, so they're going to be selling. Seattle will probably sell. Anybody from Arizona that piques your interest?
Jersey?
If Jersey somehow shakes loose there, like hell yeah. But I'm not sure if they would give up Jersey. Arizona also, do they? If I'm correct, they don't have any D-men signed for next year, right?
No. Kind of crazy.
Every one of their defensemen is a pending free agent.
That's cool.
So they might be willing to move a D-man, but I think the only one on that team who's an upgrade on CC, I mean, maybe Kesselring, damn. But outside of Jersey, actually, I think it's just Jersey.
Yeah.
In the East, looking at
give
just
the Coyotes a chance to pick their defenseman before you call them out for this, though. Sorry, I was just trying to emulate him calling out people for not being able to buy land yet. Silly.
looking at the East, Washington is 6 points out of a wild card spot. The Devils are 7 points out, as are the Islanders. The Penguins are 9 points out.
But don't, like, some of these teams are still talking about having a chance at making the playoffs. Like the Senators are in that mix and are still talking about being able to make the playoffs.
Sens are nowhere close. So
Yeah.
if they believe that they're getting into the playoffs, you have fucking.
But I've heard sound bites coming from them that they're in a hunt.
There's a rumor that they might try get Chris Tanev.
Smart.
It's like, and Frank was like, why wouldn't they just wait till the summer when you can get him for free? Like, it'd be such an Ottawa Senators thing to be like, we'll give up a prospect.
They are
and a pick for him.
16 points out of a wild card spot.
Got some games in hand, though.
Very-
yeah.
Very
4.
confusing.
So there's 8 points, assuming you win all 4.
Yeah.
Still a ways away.
Pittsburgh's an interesting one, too, because, like, I mean, you never want to count out a team with Sidney Crosby. Boy.
What if we
Base.
get Sid?
Jay was talking
Listen,
tea leaves.
Jay's idea may have died everywhere else, but not in my heart. Sid
No,
will be
sure
in
will.
Oilers. You'll see.
We got good clicks out of that, though.
We
Shout out
sure
to
did.
Jay. He's a
We
businessman.
sure did. Given that we're talking about changes in priorities for the trade deadline, any names now that you've kind of readjusted your wish lists? Like Liam had Henrique and Sam Carrick. Tyler, any names that kind of stick out to you now that you've reshuffled what you're thinking?
I like Liam's Henrique and Carrick idea just because, like, your center depth looks real good once you do that. And, like, good from the perspective of you could keep Connor and Leon together and actually still consider yourself deep down the middle, which would be a very nice luxury to have if you're Chris Knobloch and the Oilers. I'm looking at Washington, and I did this on ON every day, but, like, there are a number of pieces on Washington that I think could help the Edmonton Oilers. We've spent a lot of time talking about Nick Dowd. I have a lot of time for Anthony Mantha if you can get him twice retained. I'm not going to warn Fogle to do it because I think they're maybe similar-ish players, but a guy who can produce at 5-on-5, I like him. Shout out to Gregor's boy, Beck Malenstein, who I'd never heard of until a month ago.
Hell of a name.
But I'm in on him. On the blue line, I think if they were willing to keep 50% of Joel Edmondson, I think that could be a guy who's your number 8 for a playoff run, right? He's just a good veteran, been there, done that. If you run into a rash of injuries, you know you can throw him out there for a largely mistake-free 13 minutes of hockey. And then there was another name that Frank threw out today. Let's say you go to Washington and you're like, okay, we want Nick Dowd. Washington's like, you're giving us a first-round pick. What if you were to say, like, okay, throw in Charlie Lindgren then? Good backup goalie. He's got great numbers this season, and he's got one more year at a $1.1 million cap hit. Like, I'm just saying, even if it's not Lindgren, if it's, Malenstein, or you go pay extra for Dowd, but then you say, hey, we'll do this, but we need to find a way to get Mantha in the deal. I'm looking at Washington as a really intriguing one-stop shop here for the Oil.
I'd do it for Charlie Hunnam. Thoughts?
Who's that?
Guy from Sons of Anarchy.
I didn't know that. Never seen that show.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a good show that makes no sense at all.
Nice.
Okay.
A lot of people die. No one gets arrested.
So
One of those
basically
kind of
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not funny.
And stealing, fucking,
Ooh.
and raging,
Whoa.
killing. All the things that matter on a hockey podcast. Liam, what were you going to say?
Nothing. I don't think I can follow that up.
All right.
Sounds
No
like
Charlie Hunnam.
Django.
Did watch it on the plane. Watched you consume it in 2 parts.
Had to.
Had to.
Ran out of time.
Any other names that kind of just like you reshuffled your priorities? You're thinking, that guy might be a fit, that rascal.
I like Carrier in Nashville.
I think I like Carey in Nashville. I don't know. It's so hard to evaluate because we watch Cody's season. You're like, damn, there's a mistake. There's another one. Wow, another one.
Oh, out of position. Oh, stick
I-
Like
knife.
last
it's
night, the
like-
first goal, they got caught puck watching like in the worst way last night.
Yeah, and it just seems like almost everyone would be better. But I also just don't want them to go and get someone for the sake of just being like, oh, well, this guy's just a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's kind. They're in
Sometimes you
an
dance with the
awkward
devil,
position. I don't think they'll trade him. I really don't think they will.
Think they're going to find a way to add around him?
No, I just don't. I think they'd rather add to their bottom 6 and add another defenseman.
Damn.
Which is not.
That's not what I would prefer.
I don't know if I necessarily. I want them to fill the bottom 6, but you have to add something to this blue line.
Have you done an upgraded bottom, like 4th line goal scoring total since, what was that, 2 weeks ago before we went to Arizona? So all of a sudden, the bottom 6 was specifically one guy. He's on fire.
It's just Yanmar.
But now he's top 6.
Rascal.
He's out of it.
They get you.
That rascal.
I think you can survive with the blue line the way it is, but you cannot survive if your bottom 6 does absolutely nothing.
Yes.
Is that probably fair, right?
Yeah. Okay. But let me flip that. Like, okay, you might be able to survive a couple of rounds, but can you win a Stanley Cup with the blue line the way it is?
Can you win a Stanley Cup even if you did? Like, I don't know. Like, if you do, they're in such a bad spot because it's so clear that like they don't want to play Holloway more than like 8 minutes. Derek Ryan's barely playing. Connor Brown's been nothing close to what they expected. Corey Perry's going to contribute here and there. He's done that, but like, I don't know. They probably like 2 guys in the bottom 6 and another defenseman, which they cannot afford.
Well,
Right?
I mean, yes and no. Like, I think if you address 1 or 2 of the needs, then the team can kind of, adapt to that other issue that they have, whatever that may be. If it is a defensive liability, then you adapt to it. If it isn't, then, and if the forwards that can't score, well, then you have to adapt. I don't know. You're right. You're not wrong in saying that this team has issues and multiple at that. But I don't know if they can necessarily fix them all right this second.
I don't think they can.
Yeah.
I think another thing too is we saw how quickly they collapsed to what they were at the start of the season. If you bring in, by the sounds of it, Henrique and Carrick, who are both defensively reliable forwards, that's going to help you a lot as well.
Sure.
And that will also help your blue line.
Sure.
I don't
Probably
know.
helps Stu out as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't hate that line of thinking.
How are those
either.
guys at on draws? Do you know?
Let me look.
You have a little look-see. So Tyler mentioned Dylan Holloway not playing a whole lot. What did he do last night versus the Kings?
He was a low, right?
Yeah, he was their lowest forward. Oh, here I did this.
7-13. He was the lowest forward by a hand by 2 minutes and change under Derek Ryan.
But my new favorite game to play. How many shot attempts did Dylan Holloway have, and how many players did he, in a way, outproduce on the ice? It's fun. So Dylan
I want to
Holloway.
play.
Dylan Holloway played 7-13 at 5-on-5, team low, but he still had more shot attempts than individual shot attempts than Connor Brown, Matthias Janmark, Derek Ryan, Corey Perry, Brett Kulak, Warren Fogle, Cody Ceci, and Connor McDavid.
Okay.
And against Calgary, it was the same story, man. He played 7 whatever, had 6 individual shot attempts in that game, and it was more than, I'd have to pull up the numbers again quick, but it's more than a handful of Oilers, a lot of Oilers had in that game. And I'm getting frustrated with it because I think he's going out there and doing a lot of really good things, and there's not a lot of other players you can say that about, and he's just not getting rewarded. And you look in Dallas, this was the whole point of my article. People can read it at Daily Face or at Oilersnation.com, where I dug into this a bit. Like Logan Stankoven in Dallas is playing, he's played 2 NHL games, he's played 15 minutes in each of them, and he's got 2 points in that span, 10 shots on goal. Like they're giving him a chance, and he's adapting and rewarding them. And I know Holloway's next game will be career game number 80 for him, but I wish he would get that kind of consistent opportunity because I think there's a player there.
I agree, but there's also some times where he looks like he's being chased by bees.
A little bit, yeah. But would that go away if you gave him a lot of opportunity?
Maybe, I don't know.
Coach, right? And
I don't know, because like now how many coaches he played for? 3? Did he play for Tibbet?
No, it's just 2.
So just 2?
Yes.
So there's 2 coaches now who don't seem to...
Yeah.
What is that?
And I think that's a fair point too.
I'm not trying to like denigrate him at all. I'm just saying, what is that? 2 coaches now have just clearly thought something is not quite there to give him more than 7 minutes and 13 seconds. Like Derek Ryan is a shell of the person he once was and still played 9:25 last night.
Just quickly, the last one, because I looked it up. Holloway against the Flames, his 7:36. There were only 2 Oilers who played less than that. At 5-on-5, it was Connor Brown, 7:16, Derek Ryan, 7:19. Despite the fact he played the 3rd least amongst all skaters, he was tied with 6 individual shot attempts in that game.
Are we caring too much about shot attempts as opposed to actual shots on goal?
I mean, he had 3 shots in that game too, which would have been right up there.
Yes, I know. I think that's the rub right there, is that he's actually getting shots at the net. I think that there's a lot of shots that are coming from this team where it's wide of the net. It's getting blocked by other players, and that's a problem. But Holloway is continuing to drive towards the net and forcing offense where most of these guys in this lineup aren't. They just keep seeming to do the flybys and the circling around the zone. It's killing me.
I have the numbers.
Go ahead.
So Sam Carrick this season has a 51% in the face-off
Take
dot,
that every time.
which is the 3rd most on the Anaheim Ducks. He has taken the 3rd most draws behind Mason McTavish.
Yep.
That one.
Yep.
You were thinking apples.
Yes. And then Adam Henrique has a 51%, and he's taken 853 draws this season.
You take it every time.
The only players to have more draws, one than Carrick, on the Oilers are McDavid and Draisaitl. And Henrique is just Draisaitl is one more than him. Draisaitl has taken 1,000 faceoffs this season, and McDavid is the 2nd closest at 649. I don't know what they usually are, but yeah. And he's good, 57%.
There's something to be said too for a guy like Carrick, for Mantha.
Derek Ryan, who they would replace, is 55%, and McLeod is 50%.
I was just going to say, for those guys, like there's that certain element of pugilism to them, and I think that this Oilers team has maybe lost a little bit of that character just from the fact that we've got Evander Kane and we've got Corey Perry, but then after that, it's just kind of whatever. And I'm not saying that any team is going to push around the Oilers with Kane and Perry on the ice or whatever, or Desharnais, same thing. But again, it's just, you add that sandpaper, that grit, that stuff that just comes into the playoffs. We're looking at, you've got the Dallas Stars kind of as the best team in the other division, or one of the best teams in the other division, and that team can push you around. And I just don't look at our bottom 6 and feel like that's a bottom 6 that's going to stand up to the grind and the push around that a Dallas Stars is going to do to you.
One of the wildest things about Adam Henrique that I'm looking at, he has played 887 NHL games right now, or regular season games, only 28 in the playoffs. He hasn't played in the playoffs since 2017, 2018, when it was a 4-and-out.
And then he had that one, he had the run with the Devils.
As a
young,
rookie,
right?
Yeah.
Which is like something also somewhat beneficial to have as like a guy who was one of the younger guys on the team that was, I guess they weren't even trying to win the cup. When they like 6th seed that year and just kind of went on a run.
Yeah.
But like being around the veteran guys and like showing the young guys how to be the young guy, I guess, on a playoff team. And like
wild.
there's all these
stat.
rumors. Yeah, that is kind of crazy. There's all these rumors. He's basically Sam Gagne, right? Where he just like never went to the playoffs in his career. But there's always talk about the Oilers want guys who they can like have long term. I know Henrique's 34. There's probably a good chance you could re-sign him, right?
If he'd want to sign
If he
him.
wanted to re-sign it, I don't think that'd be like out of the question. Why there's like the speculation on guys like Gensel. It's like, how long does he want to be here? And you can't afford it.
Can't afford him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
that
gonna go
was-
for 9+.
Yeah, like
that was always my thing with Eberle too, and we talked about this today on the show. But like, you know, if you were to bring in Eberle and the run goes well,
mhm.
could you go to him in the summer and be like, Ebs, you got a couple years left in the tank, 2 by 2.75, like finish your career in Edmonton. You've made your money everywhere else, right? And I wonder about that. The other thing too, and we talked about this, like, hey, if you give up the first rounder in this package for Henrique and Carrick, and there's money retained and all that, how do you get the D-man? What can you still give up to go out there and upgrade your blue line? And I worry about that a bit. And you said give up next year's first round pick too. And I'm not comfortable giving up the next 2 first round picks unless someone's coming back with terms. So you can sit and look at next year's deadline and be like, okay, we don't have a first round pick, but we got this guy still making a contribution.
Yeah, I agree. I think you probably do need to go around and do that as well. But I could see them also like recouping some picks if they just get rid of like Kulak this summer too. You know, I'm giving themselves some tools for next year doing that and like changing up the lineup a little bit. I guess there's also the layer of like, how do you get rid of Campbell in the summer as well? But it just depends how far ahead they want to look down the road. But I think in the now, it's like, keep talking about win now, then it shouldn't be worried about what you're going to do in 6 months.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you trade both your first round picks at this year's deadline, you're pretty much locking yourself into having to buy out Campbell in the summer, which would stink.
Well, at a slightly different angle on it, a slightly darker angle, the Oilers haven't done shit with their first round picks in a minute.
Oh man,
Why not trade them? Get help now.
so I did this on DFO Live today, and again, I know I love the Dallas Stars right now, and I've been talking about them a lot. But their first round picks as of late, their first 2 rounds as of late, back in 2017, they had 2 picks in the first round, 1 in the second. They got Miro Heiskanen, Jake Ottinger, and Jason Robertson in one draft.
That's ridiculous.
Next year, Ty Dellandrea playing with the team right now. Next year, Thomas Harley, top pairing D-man with the team right now. Next year, Maverick Bourque, 58 points in 49 games in the American Hockey League this year. Next year, Wyatt Johnston, Logan Stankoven, back-to-back first, second round, both contributing on the team right now. Johnston has a 20-goal season under his belt. Like,
Yeah,
Guess,
but what about the rest of the picks, Tyler?
guess who Maverick Bourque played with in junior?
oh, don't tell me. I don't even want to know.
Xavier Bourque.
Where?
And he's way better.
Way better.
Some people say he made Xavier Bourque pretty good.
Oh,
And wasn't he a second round pick?
Bourque? No, he's a 30th overall.
Sorry, but Bourque went higher than him.
Yeah, Bargo was a first round pick.
22nd, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was the year after. The Oilers took Holloway in the Bourque.
Oh, the year after.
Yeah, it was the year after. Johnson went number
Oh, yeah, because
23.
Bourque was a late birthday.
Yeah, Johnson went 1 pick after Borgo. One player has played in 142 NHL games and scored 43 goals.
And
On,
what about the other one?
The other one is named Xavier Borgo.
the Bruce Kurlock today, we were talking about players that have value in Bakersfield from the Oilers. And I was like, we just all throw in Bourgault, Broberg, and Lavoie in these trades and assume that's enough. Like, is there other players with value? And he said, he's like, I don't know if Bourgault has value. So, yeah,
That's cool. That's great. You love to hear that about your first round picks just a handful of years after they're drafted, you know?
Yeah.
Mm.
I think ultimately he'll be fine, but he's just going to need a longer runway than what people are willing
And sometimes
to give
that's
him.
fine. But
Yeah.
like ultimately the Oilers need to have some of these first round picks actually contributing all like what you just said about like I felt my eyes roll back in my head just with rage because we've never had a second round pick do that.
No, we haven't. Like, I can't
Who
even
would have
think
been
of
the
like,
last one?
who's the last homegrown piece that has like Stuart Skinner, I guess, right? 3rd round pick that became a starting goalie.
Like what are we just talking about? Like a depth pick that is
Yeah, just like a pick
Ryan
outside of the
McLeod.
first round.
Ryan McLeod.
Oh yeah, okay. Ryan McLeod's a good example.
Ryan McLeod, 193 games, 65 points though. Like, he's obviously a good player, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Skinner.
I'm trying to say it.
Oh,
Vinny.
Caleb Jones, Ethan Bear. They both contributed to this team if we
Yeah.
liked them on
And I
that,
mean,
right?
defensive
Like
up, yep.
Yamamoto was a late first round pick too. but, like,
Slapyshev.
I'd bring him back. Yeah, it's just not.
Oh, there you go.
I just the
Juja.
point is the Oilers drafting has been grim.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, the drafting and development has been a miss for the most part.
hasn't been great, Liam.
Hasn't been good.
Hasn't been good. I want to talk about some stuff that is good. So I need to read this next part of this verbatim. You don't mind. For a limited time, our listeners can get 25% off and 0 delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more when you download the DoorDash app and enter the promo code NATION25. That's 25% off up to a $10 value and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter the promo code NATION25. Don't forget that's code NATION25 for 25% off your first order with DoorDash. Offer valid in Canada, subject to change. Terms do apply. So I was not here on Friday. I was a little bit under the weather. So I'm going to go. I've got a whole week that I can pick from. You boys have 3 games. Can you do it, Liam? For our friends at DoorDash, I beg that you must.
That I
Delivered
picked
for you.
from those 3 games. Zach Hyman.
Hard not to pick Zach Hyman.
Scored 2 against Calgary. Did he score against Boston, Minnesota?
He scored in 5 straight games.
5
Oh
straight
yeah,
games.
we talked about that. Yeah, I saw it's a game. Kid's a shooter. Kind
Who would
of.
have expected it?
That goal he scored against LA was so nasty.
Yeah, I remember when the Oilers signed him and they were talking about the 7-year deal at around $5 million, which is where he ended up. And I was just like, man, guy's only had 41 his career high at that time was 41 points. He's going to have more than 41 goals in his 3rd year with the Oilers. It's crazy.
He could score 55 this year. That's
He
not a
could.
stretch at all.
No,
He's on pace for
for it.
57.
He's on pace for it.
Yeah.
I never expected it from Zach Hyman.
And like Liam and I were laughing. There's that map, right, of where Zach Hyman has been scoring his goals. They're like all right in front of the net.
Mm.
And then yesterday, just randomly, one timer from the circle, like sick.
Yeah. And then he's also just scoring different goals too, like all kinds of different goals.
I remember that goal he scored against the Canes where it was on home ice, where he threw it like through his legs in the corner and then just power moved to the front, far side, flipped it in. It's like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, what?
There was that one against Toronto that ended up not counting. That was an absolute stunner.
Yeah, the one where he just tossed it upstairs.
Ridiculous.
Oh, that was sweet.
Tyler.
Yep.
For our friends at DoorDash, who delivered for you?
Torn on a couple. A few players who took some crap, but then found a way to bounce back. I'm going to go with, I'll go with Evan Bouchard. Took some shit for a couple of games and made that real dumb read on Matt Roy in the game against the Kings. But what does he do? Goes, great pass on the high slot deflection from Leon Draisaitl to get the power play goal, ties the game right back up, basically immediately makes up for his mistake with that one. And then to start the 3rd period, just an absolute bomb, 91 miles an hour, bar down from like basically on the blue line. Great screen by Zach Hyman. But Boosh, man, he delivered for me. You pick up a primary assist and a big goal.
Game winner.
When your team's down 2-1 in a game, that's a 4-point swing to end the losing streak, all that stuff. Boosh 1000% delivered for this team. And he's something, man. Like, we were just talking about the Oilers never hit on these picks. I mean, I know he was a top 10 pick, so like you better, but still him turning in the defenseman that he is quite something to see.
Dan, who delivered for you?
Well, Rick's not here, so I can't beat up on him. So I'm going to beat up on Tyler and Liam instead. This guy, they called him, 2 weeks ago? They called him Brown Mark. And ever since then, he's just been tearing it up for the Edmonton Oilers. He's got 3 goals in his last 5 games, an assist to go along with that, and a fight. He fought for the honor of Connor McDavid. Nobody else did it. He went out and grabbed Blake Coleman and punched his face in. So Matthias Janmark delivered for me this week.
Beat the shit out of Coleman too,
Yeah,
quite frankly.
Yeah,
he had some like rage deep down inside him.
I got to tell you though, I really love Oiler fans. I was able to play them like a fiddle with this one because before that fight, I put up the hit of Coleman on McDavid, and I cut the Hyman goal out of the hit. I cut any response from the Oilers out of the hit, and Oiler fans just responded en masse, freaking out about me not showing the Janmark fight, which of course I was about to post anyways. But Oiler fans, you're undefeated. I love you.
Walked into the web. I'm going to go not an individual, but as a collective. Last night, the special teams delivered. The Oilers have given up goals in 8 of their last 9 prior to last night's game on the PK. shut the door, including a huge 5-on-3 kill in the second period that led to Leon Draisaitl's power play goal to tie the game. Power play came through on 1 of 3, I should say. So overall, a special team sweep against the Kings in a game that they needed, coming off a 3-game losing streak. The special teams delivered for me last night. We haven't been able to see it a whole lot since the All-Star break, but last night they did very, very well, and I was just happy to see it.
The PK has been a lot better the last 3 games now, I think it is. Were they good against Boston, or was it kind of bad?
They were good against Minnesota.
Minnesota was 100%, and then they got 1 for 4 against Calgary, which was a dumb penalty from Leon, so is what it is. And then they were perfect last night too. So coming around.
That was the turning point last night. Like, if you give up a goal on the PK there to go down 3-1 to this Kings team, I know they ended up scoring 2 more times for the end of the game, but I don't think you come back and win that game down 3-1.
No, I think it's a completely different situation if that 5-on-3 ends with the Oilers down 2.
Yeah. Momentum, all that. Like, the crowd, you could even tell towards the end of that PK at the game, like, crowd was getting loud too. Like, they recognized it.
Speaking of the crowd last night, the crowd did the wave when it was a 1-goal game. I tweeted, I love the wave, but it's not the time. Man, I took a lot of shit on Twitter last night.
And Gregor was like, oh, let fans have fun. It's like, no, Gregor, you don't get the bit.
It's so weird. I get it so much. Like, there was one time I tweeted, I was like, oh, what a coincidence. The Oilers lost this game after they started doing the wave, or like something like that. And there was a lot of people that were like, let the people have fun. It's like, just cheer. I don't know. It's just weird to me. People tried to do it in Arizona too. You got one in Arizona, I think, when we did it. I didn't get involved. It was a 1-goal game.
I sit in my chair during it. I'm a fun sponge. I tweeted back at Mulek because he was like, stop doing the wave. And I was like, I'm closed fist punching everyone in my section who partakes. And then someone was like mad about that. They're like, oh, yeah, as opposed to what, an open fist punch? I was like,
oh,
Jesus
my
Christ.
goodness.
Why is the wave triggering us so hard? Why are we fighting over this?
Sorry, listeners, I just got to show the boys because this fucking tweet made me laugh out loud last night because I was just like, not the time for the wave, people. I love it too, but not in a 1-goal game. And then our boy Shroom Sauce says, when the wave comes around, but I morally disagree. It's Tim Robinson from I Wish I Think You Should Leave. Oh, that show's a masterpiece.
So good.
That show is a masterpiece. Anybody else deliver for you guys that wasn't mentioned?
I wanted to give Stuart Skinner some love for his bounce back. I thought
big game
again, even to give up that early goal against the Kings, I was kind of like, damn, I really wanted Stu to have a good night. Like, now when you give one up kind of early on like that, you put yourself behind the 8 ball a bit, and then sure enough, like, he just bounced back wonderfully. He's got a really good ability to do that, and I know it's been tough sledding as of late, but like, going back to the winning streak, how many times did he give one up early and then just dial it in late? And that's exactly what we saw yesterday. They put on some pressure, even when the Oilers were only up by 2, or when the Oilers got up by 2. I shouldn't say only up by 2. When they got up by 2 after the Nuge goal, the Kings kept coming, and Skinner made some big stops. So I want to give Skinner a shout out. 950 save percentage or something like that.
38 saves and a 950 last night. He had 6 games in a row under 900, but last night he was very, very good against Kings.
I understand why the people are upset with the goaltending. It's not been that good since the All-Star break. But let's not pretend that the team has been
They look
well
like they
in
did in
front of him.
October.
Exactly. And it's just like, what do you want these guys to do? If you play bad in front of Connor Hellebuck, he's only going to save so many. You know, and like Skinner's letting some bad ones, like the Brad Marchand one stands out. The ones against Arizona weren't great. Don't get me wrong, it's not like we're playing perfect, is it?
Just I didn't get a chance to talk to you guys either on After Dark or on your show. What about the game against Minnesota on Friday? Because the Oilers were absolutely dominant over the back half of that game. Yet Calvin Pickard let in 3 goals on 18 shots and kind of like, the result ended up us being goalied, even though, you know.
Yeah, that was a weird one too, because like, one of them I didn't think was his fault. The other 2, it's like, okay, probably should have stopped those. Gustafsson played good at the other end. I know it's a 2-goalie league now. Like, I understood the frustration with Pickard there, and there really isn't a lot of defending him, but also I just was so unimpressed with the lackluster play for long stretches in that game from the Oilers that I was kind of like, God, like, in a game against a team who at that point had one of the best offenses going in the NHL over a recent stretch. Like, Minnesota was scoring a lot. It's like, you know what? You probably should score 4 against that Minnesota team. Like, again, the shots and the goals that actually went in were ugly, but then I looked and I was like, it's a good offense. He gave up 3. He didn't give up that 4th. Like, I don't know. I was torn on it, but I also know I kind of have this weird thing of being a Calvin Pickard defender, so probably biased.
And I think that's just the reality of his game, the previous game. Who was it against?
Dallas.
Yeah, where he dropped bobbled the puck a few times. Like, it's just, I said after that game, it's just a reminder that he's still the backup. Like, he's not a starter.
1B.
Yeah, and that's not his fault. That's not our fault. That's not anybody's fault except
That's
for
fine
one guy in the
for
AHL.
the most part.
Yeah.
He's a backup.
And that's exactly it. And that's fine to be reminded of that every once in a while and still win some of those games too. But like we did against Dallas. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that people are like turning on a guy that came in and really solidified the B position for us.
And there's the argument too that people keep saying is like Skinner's playing too much. So I actually think the rotation has been perfectly fine, but then those same people argue that Pickett isn't good enough.
Yeah.
So well, which one do you want? You either play Pickett and he's going to have bad games and he had 1 in every 7, which I'll take every day of the week.
He's been doing exactly what we want him to.
Or you can play Skinner every night and then he's done for the playoffs pretty much. So
I
just
want
don't know what they're
Skinner
supposed
to
to do.
play 509 and break what's his name's record.
Oh, Glenn Hall's right.
Oh.
Play
That's
them
what,
all. Play them all.
that's what I want. Another guy, just, you know what, since that penalty against the Flames and then they scored that goal, was just so annoying. And then the post-game interview, you could tell he was pissed off. Another guy who delivered for me last night was Leon Draisaitl. I thought it was his best game in a while. I know he got reunited with Connor up on the first line, and some people whinge about it. Sometimes it's fun, but last night I thought he was really, really good. He was strong on the back check. He was strong in all 3 zones. He was good on the dot.
Shooting pucks like crazy.
Shooting pucks, had the big goal, had an assist.
He had a rush where he picked up the puck in the neutral zone. I think it was Doughty. He like
Flew past him.
Doughty.
And then like one arm shoved him off.
Yeah, and then he even got like a shot and raised it with one hand on his stick. And I watched him blow past Doughty, and it was one of those like, who are we joking about this the other day? Where it's like, you've shown us you can do it now. Like, you got to keep doing it. Like,
Vander Kane.
Yeah, it was like the way Draisaitl blew past Doughty was like, dude, we know you have that in you. Like, why are you not doing that to like worse defensemen?
Subpar.
Lastly, just because it's on brand. My guy Ryan Nugent-Hopkins only played 18:49 last night. Goal and assist, 65% off the dot. 2 shots, 2 hits. Come on, that's a good game for Nuge.
Threw him out there late as well to protect the lead when they needed some face-off wins, and it was on his weak side as well. So Knobloch was just like going with the hot hand. Nuge was good in the dot. I think anyone, like no matter what level of hockey you've played, if you're a centerman, there are just days where you're like, I'm not losing a draw tonight. And like, you can just see it perfectly. You're snapping everything back. So I love that Knobloch just kept rolling him out there too. That was great. And a clutch goal. Big Selly by Nuge too. He was
Big
fired up
Selly.
after that one.
How
You
can
can tell
not
they love beating the Kings.
I love when they beat the Kings.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because it means the game was entertaining and the Kings didn't dictate it.
Yeah.
And I didn't fall asleep halfway through.
Can we add something else too? Our guy Brandon, one of the Oilers fans who traveled from abroad to be here. He's from Illinois. He was here for a 4-game stretch. Last night was his final game, and the Oilers came through, and he was telling us on Real Life. I ran into him at the rink in the second intermission when it was tied at 2, and he was like, man, all I want to hear is play La Bamba in person. When Nuge scored, I texted him, I was like, let's fucking go. And he was like, Nuge, baby. And then after he posted that picture of him, Dukes, and our friend from England
English
as
friend.
well. Jack, I think is his name.
McCartney.
Yeah.
I think.
Is
No
it?
relation to
No relation to Paul?
Oh, yeah. And he posted a picture of the 3 of them going right out to the bar together as a group. And it was the caption, you could tell how excited he was because it's all caps. And it's like an Englishman, an Aussie, and an American walk into a bar after an Oilers win. I just loved seeing how fired up they were. And if you have a chance, go back and listen to the first 20 minutes of Monday's Real Life because we talked to them. And man, the way they talked about our city was like unreal.
Made me feel proud to be here.
Oh, did it ever?
Not
They are
that I
so
wasn't
cool.
anyway.
Jack McCarthy.
What did I call him?
McCartney. It's McCarthy.
Cousin of Paul.
Cousin of Paul. Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how all these guys are here at the same time.
It is wild that they're all here.
And they're like friends. Like they're just
Yeah.
like Dukes was just hanging around with Brandon and his wife yesterday. Just
This-
chilling.
Can't hang out with Waz all the time.
Nope.
There's another fella coming, Rush Jericho.
Yeah. I thought he was here. He's not here.
He's coming. I think he's on his way today. I think his
Oh.
trip starts today from Blackpool, which is a seaside town in the northwest of England. So he literally stays up for every game and just watches it. And
Yep.
he's always live tweeting. It's not so
That is
a commitment.
commitment.
Yeah. So he's going Manchester to Iceland to Calgary. And for some reason he's going to Drumheller, which, hey, great spot.
Hey, you want to see the hoodoos, man?
And then he's coming here for 6 weeks.
It's a hole in
Holy
the Albertan
yeah.
landscape.
Yeah.
I also have one
Well,
more
if you're here
story.
for 6 weeks, you got time for the hoodoos.
Yeah, you do.
So I saw Dukes and Brandon at the second intermission. Nico Jolly was chatting with him a little bit. And I was like, oh, Dukes, where are you sitting? And he told me. So I was kind of like, every couple of minutes, I'd look up and see how Dukes was doing with the stress of the tight game. They did a t-shirt toss, and they had the gun out, and they lobbed one right up in the air. And I was like, looking, Dukes is standing up. He wants his shirt, goes up. That thing was hand delivered to him right in the mitts, and it bounced off his hand. So I got to give Dukes shit for dropping that.
Oh, honorary cold performer to Dukes with no mitts.
The look on his face, I felt like a little creeper because I was sitting down there staring up at Dukes, like, oh, you might get it. And then just the look on his face when it bounced away. I was like, oh no, buddy.
I've only caught a t-shirt at a game once, and I wasn't even paying attention. It was in the playoffs. I went with sales guy Jared, and we were just sitting there bullshitting while the t-shirt toss was going on, and one just went plunk in my lap.
My dad caught 2 one game. It was against Anaheim last year when they lost. We got these seats and we were like row 5 or something like that, and they got fired to us. So I guess some of them are actually kind of tied up, right?
Yeah.
And they're supposed to have something a little extra in them.
Yeah.
And my dad just grabbed it and he didn't care. So he just like fired it back into the crowd. And I'm like, there's like a gift card or something in there, right? He's like, oh no. And then the other one was given to a little kid, which was huge on him.
Yeah, I kept mine.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
Them kids.
Fuck them kids.
Yeah.
No, mine just says I went to an Oilers game and I won this shirt.
Yeah, that's what the one said.
Oh, Dukes even tweeted about it. When the t-shirt cannon tosses me a sitter, and there's a little fumble there. Go follow Dukes at Dukes91 on Twitter.
When's he here till?
Tuesday, I
March
believe.
5th or something was.
That's just a couple more games.
Got another week. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, he's going to be joining us for Brunch for Ben. That's coming up on Saturday at Greta. That is an afternoon game. We're going to be raising money for the Ben Stelter Foundation. The Stelters will be in attendance. Very, very excited to spend some time with them. Tickets still available, but not many, folks. Nationgear.ca.
I gotta get tickets.
Go to get nationgear.ca if you want to get your tickets, Liam.
Liam is literally
I'm
gonna buy
literally
tickets
going
right
by it right now. I need 5, so
Go get them.
I need 2, Liam. Jeez.
I'll sell you 2 of my 5.
Greta is going to be full up on Saturday, everybody. If you want to come join us for a brunch party, I'm very, very excited. I had to miss last weekend's party because of illness. I just took away Nuge's sickies. I took it on myself.
So also, if you head to nationgear.ca, I didn't know this was live already. We are doing the Robin Brownlee Memorial Auction. Yeah. I wanted to give this a plug. So basically, over the course of the next 4 weeks, we're going to have 4 different items up for grabs. So the first one is courtesy of our friends over at Tourism Jasper. Here's what you're getting with this bad boy. It is a Jasper stay and ski package. It's 2 nights at the Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge. That is legit. And a pair of 2-day lift passes to Marmot Basin. So you, significant other, you and a buddy, you're going to stay at the JPL. You're going to get 2 days of skiing at Marmot Basin each. And this is all going to go back to supporting Robin Brownlee's family. So it's a great cause. We're really excited to do this for Brownlee's family, obviously. And right now, the current bid is at $550. And if you know anything about the JPL, you know that is currently a bargain. So
$550, I'm in.
Some of the other stuff we're going to be auctioning off over the next 3 weeks. There is a chance to do a date night with me and Jay.
That's very exciting.
So we're going to take you out to eat. We're going to have pregame drinks, and we're going to go to the Oilers game as a foursome, me, Jay, you, and a friend. And then we're going to go out for beers after the game as well and make it a whole night.
Fun.
There's a day at the Sports 1440 studio that I think is week number 3 where
you do have to learn how to make clips for the Jason Gregor show.
You do. Yeah. You actually have to work that day, but you get to hang out with Gregor. No, you get like a tour of the studio. You get to sit in for a little bit of the show. And then I think Gregor's kicking in Oilers tickets as well to that one. And then the 4th week is a similar experience, but it's for ON every day, where you get to come in, tour our studio, and you get to hang out with us, whatever. We'll grab you a beer.
Tour the studio. This is it.
You guys better like think of some magic tricks or something.
I think that one comes with like Oilers tickets that game.
Well, it'd be good. They get to be on the show with us, you said?
They get to come. Yeah, I think so.
We'll do the Michael Scott cold open thing where we come out of the elevator. We'll do the whole thing again.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, we do that every start of every month. We'll do it for them.
So yeah, right now it's the Jasper Stay and Ski package up now. Nationgear.ca. Up at the top bar, there's a little Robin Brownlee auction. Current bid is only $550. So if you are a skier and you're looking for a nice weekend getaway and you want it to go to a good cause, it will at nationgear.ca.
$550 is less than 1 night stay at the JPL.
Yeah, I actually don't think that's an exaggeration.
Like, this is a great deal to kick off the auction for the Brownlees.
Mm-hmm.
Head on over to nationgear.ca, put a bid in. And if you can't bid, that's cool too. Just help us spread the word. That'd be great if you could. We're very, very appreciative of that. Dan, it's time for a game.
It is.
It's time for a game.
Hit game.
Ooh.
ONR 3v3 is
Yes.
back. 2 weeks ago, we did the wing flavor thing, and I made some graphics for it, and Waz didn't use them, didn't like them, didn't use them. So I've tagged in Kennedy, and we've got some special graphics for today's game and going forward that we'll be posting on the socials. So follow along as you play along with the boys. We're going to be doing a draft today of 2 forwards, 1 defenseman, and a goalie that have played for both the Edmonton Oilers and the St. Louis Blues. That's it. Those are the only rules you have. You have to pick one of those. And I didn't actually do a random order at the start of the day today. So we'll go starting with Bag Milk around the room, ending with me.
So what do I want to do here? That's the
Snake
tick.
draft too.
Snake draft. Yeah.
What do I want to do here? Do I want to take the goalie that I'm thinking of, or do I want to go off the board here? Oh, easy.
Don't do it.
Wayne Gretzky.
Ah, damn it. That's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Wayne Gretzky first off the board.
So who's next?
That is you.
Chris Pronger.
Okay.
Okay, so the best forward and the best D-man are now very clearly off the board. So I'm going to go with the best goalie. I'm going Grant Fuhr. I feel like the goalie list really drops. It doesn't quite drop off. Maybe that was a mistake. No, I'm sticking with Grant Fuhr.
So Liam, you went with. Sorry, I'm just.
Just Chris Pronger.
Pronger. Yes. Sorry.
I've heard of him.
And then Tyler, you just did.
Don't look.
I won't look, buddy.
Sorry.
I went Grant Fuhr.
So Tyler's got Grant
I'm
Fuhr.
gonna grab. I'm gonna also go off the goalie board as well. I'm gonna grab Curtis Joseph to be able to solidify my goaltending position, and then forwards. I'm gonna go to my favorite, Doug Waite, centerman. Doug Waite.
It's a good pick.
That is good.
So my goalie, I guess I need to.
Well, no, we're
you
going
know,
back the
yeah,
other way. It's me
you-
now.
Oh,
You gotta
draft.
wait, my
All right.
friend.
Snake draft. All right.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit worried about the depth that we have for defensemen in this whole thing, if I'm being totally honest, and I'm not all that
I think
interested.
I can only think of 4 total.
Yeah, there's not a lot, and I'm a little bit worried about potentially getting stuck with Nikita Nikitin in this bad boy. So I honestly didn't even know this guy played for both the Oilers and Blues, but I'm going. Oh, he only played 12 games with the Blues. Charlie Huddy.
Wow.
It's a big pull. I
Liam?
thought he might slip to me. I thought you young bucks may not remember him.
Okay, my pick. Maybe Nikita wouldn't be so bad.
There is another good defenseman actually.
Okay, I'm gonna not care about defensemen, and I will take Glenn Anderson
Glenn Anderson.
because I already have Chris Pronger, so I should be fine.
Yeah,
Doing
you
pretty
have a
good.
D-man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
didn't want to fill out that blue line too heavily with Eric Brewer and Chris
Just
Pronger.
drafts
though.
all to you, man.
Back to back for BM.
So I'm my defenseman. I think I'm going to take Eric Brewer,
That's a good pick.
an Olympian.
Yeah.
That sneaky wrister from the point. Come on, he was big. And then I'm going to pick a goalie. I'm going to go with Freddie Brathwaite because I shot on him at Carnival of Champions back in 1993.
That's a great pull. Great pull. I respect that.
Okay, Liam, you're back on the board.
Okay, yeah, you're right. The defensive market is quite thin.
You
already
have
got
one.
one.
You
I
have
know, but
Pronger.
I still need one.
No, you
No, you
don't. It's
don't.
2 forwards, a D, and a goalie. It's a
Oh, I
3-on-3
thought you
lineup.
said 2 forwards, 2 D, and a
No,
goalie.
2 forwards, 1 D, and a goalie. You're
Ah, okay.
Oh,
Well,
and our
that
3v3.
really changes things. I'll go Andres Nielsen.
good. Your goalie.
As a goalie, not a defenseman.
I'm going to poke holes in your strategy right now. None of us were picking a goalie again, so you could have probably just waited on
It's
that
fine.
one.
It's fine.
That's
Let him
fine.
do it.
That's fine.
Why? What other goalies were even left?
That's not the point. Okay, I'm up next. I'm going Billy Guerin.
I'm so confused.
What's confusing?
I thought I could pick 1 forward, 1 D, and 1 goalie.
2 forwards.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Good Lord.
I'm gonna draft
Well, hopefully,
One
costs and stuff.
Craig McTavish. who
Oh,
played
nice.
For the Blues and the Oilers, of course. And then,
Except he's got to wear a bucky now.
yeah, he does have to wear a bucky. Is this my last pick? Yes, it is. So I do have to draft a defenseman. I'm going to draft Dmitry Samorukov.
That's
The
Oh, wow.
Edmonton Oilers.
That's a good
and
one.
St.
Oh,
Louis
wow.
That's a
Blues.
really tough
Hey,
pick
that's
to have to deal
we're
with.
gonna have to make some moves at the deadline, okay?
So I'm up. My last pick. I need someone current. I've just been picking old guys, and I don't like that at all. So I am going to go with. I'm doing it for the vibes. I'm going Nail Yakupov.
Oh,
Wow. Okay.
Fool.
You're telling me that he doesn't benefit from the structure of playing with Charlie Huddy? Call me a fool. Learn how to build a team. You have Anders Nielsen in it.
I have Chris Pronger and Glenn Anderson.
That's a good point. Anders Nielsen might not face a shot.
Okay, so now I have to pick a forward.
You do.
Evidently, I have not listened too well as I've been doing my research.
I'll tell you if you've picked him or not.
Is Jason Arnott still available?
He's still available.
Okay, I'll take him.
Arnott is available. There are going to be some players left on the board. I think that the listeners are going to be mad we didn't pick. But
Yeah,
it's
there's
okay.
a couple there I'm seeing. Maybe they've been picked. I'm not sure.
Okay.
PM is the last pick of the draft.
PM
Last
is
pick,
gonna
and I got to
finish
pick a
off
forward.
the draft
I'm going to
forwards.
go with he's an active player. At one time, he did have a career high for goals with the Oilers when he was here. He was here for a short time and not for, but we did have a good time. David Perron.
Yeah, I was
Picking
thinking
you.
him.
Little DP for the bag milk draft.
VM at the end of the draft. Perfect.
Some
So-
players not taken. Nathan Walker,
Yeah.
Adam
Oates.
Cracknell,
Magnus PRV,
Magnus Piavi,
Marty Reisner, Tyler Pitlick,
Brian Bennon,
James Neal.
Chris Russell,
yeah,
Klim
Chris
Kostin.
Russell, Clean the Dream. Yeah,
Brad Winchester.
was Essa Tikkanen taken?
No.
Tikkanen wasn't taken.
Well, that
Oh,
would have been a good.
So-
Matty Maroon.
If you enjoyed this game, you can play along. You can draft your own team along with us. But go ahead and check our socials, ON Radio Podcast, for the lineups and pick the winner of this game. And I guess that's what we'll
I don't know why I took Gretzky when I could have taken Derek Roy.
He was.
Especially when Yakupov was available too.
Can I trade Garen for Derek Roy? My yak whisperer.
We'd have to.
Is that one of the biggest mistakes in Oilers history?
Letting Derek Roy go.
Letting him walk, knowing how well he played with Yakupov.
I mean, arguably wasn't the greatest choice.
Oh,
The biggest
unbelievable.
mistake, though, I would say
What-
largely inconsequential.
One of.
It's got to be a hard thing as a franchise to have to
Death
say to
by
yourself.
1,000 cuts.
To
you know
say
what
to
I mean?
yourself, yeah, you drafted Nail Yakupov first overall, but you've got to keep Derek Roy, or else he will not be effective.
He never played in the NHL again after he played in Edmonton.
What were his numbers?
He had 11 goals and 22 points in 46 games
That would have worked.
that season, but he also played 26 for Nashville. So that's 60 plus 12, 72. So he had 12 goals, 20 assists for 32 points.
Really,
That's
you
like-
have to blame the teams that picked up Yakupov afterwards and didn't go out and get Roy. off
Is
of
Derek
the
Roy
free
still
agent
playing?
wire.
No. Oh, he's done.
He's still available, and so is Yakupov. I'm just saying. Fixes all of our bottom six issues with one move.
What
Two
year
moves.
is that again?
Some
2015.
interesting Puck Doku names on there as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know?
Crazy. I can't believe they let him go.
Yeah.
You're really hung up on this.
Well, it is.
I can't believe
I
Dallas
mean,
Aiken's healthy scratch nail Yakupov 4 games into that season.
That didn't.
what an error. God.
What were we doing?
I wish we had this podcast back then.
I don't.
Yeah, that's the Oilers. There was like a 2-week window this year where it was like, oh, the Oilers might miss the playoffs. I mean, granted, I know I do that every year, but it was like, boy, this job will suck when they go back to being bad eventually.
Rick
Yeah,
was
that-
so
Yeah.
depressed that week.
It's not going to be great.
That was a dark week for Rick.
Never seen him like that, to be
Yeah.
honest.
It
Why
wasn't
did they
long.
let him go?
It was only a couple days. Who's
He's
that?
still on Derek Roy?
Derek Roy. Like, what was he asking for too much money? Like, I can't
Well,
imagine.
I was
Like,
asking for nobody gave him it.
yeah, like
Again,
that just seems weird.
it's
The
hard
ask
as
was
a,
above 0, so that
The
was too much
Oilers
money.
got Connor McDavid that year, so they're like, our center depth's probably pretty good.
it's hard as
I
a
don't know,
franchise
it's
to
kinda
justify
whack.
signing a guy just to keep your
Yeah.
one hope alive.
He literally only played 46 games and was still top 10 in team scoring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He was 8th on the team scoring. He had more points than David Perron that year, who we traded.
That is a short lineup.
Weird
Good
how
era.
there's no way we've only been recording for 29 minutes.
No, we have. It's only 2:40.
29 minutes?
Wait, what?
That
Oh,
says
yeah.
29 minutes.
We've been going for almost an hour.
Well, it's recording on the StreamYard.
We always do a backup on the stream.
Oh, okay.
So we're not totally screwed, but
I'm just sitting here because I always use this grid as like my marker,
yeah.
and it says 29. Now it just says 29:50. Is this recording in slow motion?
Ooh. Should
It's
upload it that way.
working.
The only way this podcast makes sense is if you listen to it in 2x speed. I'll be honest, BM, I've been sitting here the whole time as we've been going through these segments being like, fuck, we gotta drag this out. We're nowhere close to an hour. We're just only at 20 minutes.
Well, that's what I'm just like, I'm through most of my prep here, and I'm looking over him like, now we're at 30 minutes.
That was a mind fuck. I straight up was like, oh man, we're gonna have to like really drag out some sort of segment here for the final back of the pod.
Listen, if there's one thing I can do, it's drag this shit along. But like,
we just hit an hour. Hell yeah. We're off. Day's done.
Well, I have something I'd like to bring up about my
Derek Roy.
golf league,
Oh, okay.
if we have time.
well, first I want to tell you to join us at Greta again
Yes, please come.
this weekend. Brunch for Ben, that is happening on Saturday. Tickets are it's gonna sell out. So I know it's Tuesday. Make some plans. And if you can't come on Saturday, that's cool too. But make Greta part of your game day routine, pre and post game. We're gonna have more events coming down there as the season wears on. Go check out Greta. Challenge Tyler to the football game because I watched my boy Liam play the football game on Instagram. That's not going to win you a tab, my friend.
I can't believe Waz did that to me. I
Might be
played
the
that
worst I've
game
ever seen.
probably 40 times that night, and that was by far the worst score I had because I got 0 and Waz posted it. He also has a video on his phone of me draining threes on the basketball game, which he did not post.
no posting
he-
on that one, right?
He
Just
deleted
you.
that right away.
Unbelievable.
He deleted it right away.
He was like,
Immediately.
"This is not
Yeah,
what I
need the
was looking
space.
for."
God.
I had to make a choice. It was a tough choice, Liam. But
Liam, before we talk about your golf hero or whatever you want to say, just a couple things. I was talking to Gregor yesterday about the deadline. Just, do you agree with the vibe Gregor said? I said, what's the vibe like with the organization based on what you know, Jason? And he goes, what? We're going on the trade deadline. They want to trade the first round pick. You got to have a guy who comes back next year. Can't just be a rental, man. That happened last year with Ekholm.
clip it.
We appreciate it. Do you think it has to be a guy who comes back if you're going to trade the first this year?
I mean, ideally, yes, but does that mean they have to be signed or someone you think you can sign?
In this specific case, we were talking about players with term.
Because if you're doing that, then you're really limiting yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the issue is that the asking price is determined by the market, not you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I
Unless you're a
think
market maker.
I think that this year, though, we have enough. There's just not enough selling teams to really justify not having to use that first round pick.
So just looking through Frank's list, players with term who would be options: Scott Lawton.
Which has been tied to the Oilers.
I'm not going to include the goalies like Jake Allen, but Nick Dowd, Pavel Buchnevich, Jacob Chikrin's on there. Going down, nothing through 15. Gramland. Like, I don't know. Like, you see those names? There's 5 guys. How many do you want? 2? Dowd and whoever the other guy was, Buchnevich? Scott Lawton, I guess, or 3 of the 5 there. It's just, you're really pushing yourself into a corner if that's what you want. And I get it. I mean, it makes sense to want to have that. But like I said, like, if you get Adam Henrique, it's not out of the question that you could re-sign him. Even Tarasenko, someone like that, right? Like, I think that's what they need to be looking at too.
Tyler, do you think they need term if they're going to spend the first?
If they're just spending this year's first, no. If you're doing this year and next year's first, yes.
Dan?
I don't care as long as it brings in a guy that is worth getting this team to the cup final. So I'm okay with it.
I think the preference would be yes, but I'm at a point now where I look at the Oilers draft record over the last, I don't care about draft picks as much as some people do, I don't think.
No, I think the draft can be valuable, of course, but I think the
100%.
picks are more valuable than what the prospects ultimately become.
So you got to add like 3-4 years on top of a pick, right?
And plus, too, there's like, you can still sign prospects, guys out of college, WHL, CHL, free agents, whatever it may be. Like, still prospects you have. And then also you kind of get to handpick them a little bit too. And they're probably closer to playing on your team when they become junior free agents or college free agents.
Since you brought that up, is there a big college guy this year that's like going to be the free agent that everybody's chasing?
Shane LaChance is an Oilers prospect that is just like ripping it up on Macklin Celebrini's wing right now. So there's like a little bit of concern that he might not want to be an Oiler.
There's another kid
Why,
too.
Why do I get the concern?
He
He's
might wanna
American.
and he might want to do his full 4 years of school, is what I heard.
Gotcha.
There's another kid too who's like 6'7", not Matt Rempe, different guy. I can't remember
Vinny
his name.
Desharnais.
I'll have
I
to
know
do
him.
some research and come back to it, but there was another guy too. But the list doesn't really come out too much. But the guy at camp last year that the others invited was Will Zapanik. Remember him?
Former Crusader.
Former Crusader, captain of the University of
He was
Vermont.
at the
now.
Oilers camp.
Yeah, they invited him.
Oh, wow.
And they've done the last couple of years. There was a guy, Cameron Wright, I believe, came to camp twice, and then there was another guy to De Jong, I think his name was. They invited him back-to-back camps, and then they signed him. So I don't know anything, but just speculation of previous records.
Interesting.
Liam?
What was your golf league?
Oh, so I've told you guys about my golf league and how the loser eats pancakes. They do that 24-hour thing. One pancake knocks off an hour. You guys have heard that one?
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm currently in last, but I am right next to there's me and this other guy who are like neck and neck.
What do you mean golf league, by the way? Like you go play, like you play golf?
Yeah, me and 12 of my friends play virtual golf every Wednesday. So we've gone through 10 weeks, and you're back
Pre or post cheesecake?
during. We had cheesecake there now.
All right.
So now we've got to the point where the other guy we're playing with is injured. He has a torn rotator cuff, so he can't golf.
Well,
But
sounds
you
like a
only
loser to
need-
me.
So you only get your 5 best scores, and that's how it is. So now our commissioner has said his brother, who is a significantly better golfer than him,
No,
can golf in his
No.
place,
Oh, that's
and
bullshit.
he
No.
can putt. And I'm like, that is
No.
wrong,
no,
right? Isn't that bad?
no.
He has 5 scores.
He has his 5 scores.
So why does he get to bring in a ringer to?
I
Yeah,
agree.
this makes no sense.
And he is injured for sure. He showed me his doctor's note, which I asked for.
The injury is
But it's
fine.
like, yeah, you can't dispute that. He's
But
hurt.
this is just a tough break for you. You have to deal
too
with your
bad.
5 scores.
Yeah,
You can't
I
bring in a
agree.
ringer who's significantly better to fill out the rest of the
100%.
This
season.
is some Vegas Golden Knights LTIR bullshit.
100%. That's a great point. So my point was, you guys are backing up. Send me some tweets, because I want to send these to my friends of you being like, that is BS.
Yeah, just clip
From
this whole
at
part.
hockey fights.
Just clip this whole
Yes.
part where I say Liam's golf buddies. No,
Can't do that.
you guys established rules.
Yep.
He has 5 scores.
Mm-hmm.
Either he learns to hack away with one arm, or he plays those 5 scores.
And I missed a week, so I'm gonna redo that week. But if I didn't do it, my 5 scores would be in until I
but,
do it on
I
Saturday.
mean, according to the rules, maybe you could have a ringer come in. And
I
do
know.
it.
If
I'm
I
just
would
saying.
have known, it was when we were away for the
maybe,
All-Star game.
yeah, maybe you just be like, "Oh, I'm a little sore today," and you go, "Hey, Jay Downton, why don't you come out and hack a couple of balls?"
Yeah, exactly.
That would be my push to the commissioner. Is just you cannot make changes during the season. You
100%.
have to address this in the off season.
Yep.
The
Yep.
coming off season.
Or put it to a vote.
Even
I-
then,
but-
because
You think you're confident enough in your buddies to?
because
Well,
then
there's been
you're
a few people that have been like, "This is kind of not fair."
Just not kind of not fair. It is not fair.
Yeah, it's
Like,
not
it's just
fair.
blatantly
That's what I'm saying.
cheating.
Just like you need to hurt yourself,
Yeah.
and then you bring Jay in because he dummies balls.
hmm
New 5 scores for you.
When I walk out of this door, just close it really quickly, but make sure my knee is in there.
Yeah. See, we're already sorting this out. So my definitive vote, Judge Bagmilk, this is bullshit.
100%.
I agree.
All right. Thank you.
There
You're
you go.
welcome.
Well, I'll let you know how
Good
it
work,
goes.
everybody.
we need to have a new segment where we bring in fantasy disputes and we
Yes.
settle them for
Yeah,
people.
we're-
Well, as a commissioner of a fantasy league, whenever something gets brought up, I push it to the off season.
Yes.
Or we go through a vote if it's something that needs to be
Yeah, if it's
changed
detrimental and
immediately.
dealt with. Yeah.
I can't believe this.
The only person that should be in favor of that idea is your guy that's hurt.
Yeah,
That's the
his
only
brother.
yes vote.
and his brother. Yeah.
And his brother who's just not invited
Who apparently
to
gets a
play in
vote
the
now.
original
So
pool.
I'm just saying.
Well, maybe I'll
he's now-
pay off the brother.
Oh.
A few layers here, actually.
Injure the brother.
He only has one.
Right? I think it's
Unbelievable.
bullshit. What say you, listeners? Hit us up, Owen
Yeah,
Radio
let me know.
Podcast.
Yep.
Should Liam allow such shenanigans? I say nigh. I say nigh. Anyway,
times
Well, good thing
This
we
thing
stretched
says
it
we
out.
went on 34 minutes.
Feels like
The
a
other
lie.
one says it's not. We'll figure that out. I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Quick score prediction for tomorrow's game.
Who did they play?
St. Louis.
Could it be possible
The whole game I did.
Oh,
for a
Right.
second straight 4-2 win? I say yes. Liam, what do you got?
I'll go 5-1. No, 4-1 Edmonton.
I'll go 5-1 Edmonton.
Dan?
I'm going to say 5-4 Edmonton.
That's where we're going to wrap it up. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you on Friday.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.